What's up, everybody? It's Herf here, back on the Duel Entertainment channel, and today we got a super special video. So, as you guys know, last weekend was the MCS, and my good friend here, DanielYGO, won it, going undefeated throughout the entire tournament. Didn't drop a single match. What's up, Daniel?
Hello, it's nice to be here.
So,
So
first of all, congratulations. I mean, it's crazy. How you feeling?
yeah, it's great. It's still crazy. Rather not the win itself, but rather the reactions with what I got throughout the
Mm-hmm.
match and throughout the tournament itself and after the tournament. Like all the support from everyone rooting for me, especially once they knew that I entered the finals. It was just insane, just how everyone spammed my name, the deck itself. It's, it still makes me speechless.
Yeah, so overall, how are you feeling like going into the tournament? Were you like, I'm for sure gonna win it. I'm the best player in here, or were you nervous? How are you feeling going into it?
I thought I would at best get a top 32 and lose there. Like I didn't expect to do well at all. I tried to build the deck as I could. I played pretty much the same list the day before in the Meta Freakly.
Mm-hmm.
The only change would be that I played two Rosenix instead of two Smiger,
Mm-hmm.
and I played only one Smiger, and I changed it up after I thought about it a little bit more. There were only I wanted to play 14 crestrons to have a decent chance of having my combo because bricking with trons isn't nice at all.
Mm-hmm.
I did some math before I entered into the tournament because throughout the last tournaments which I played, bricks got really annoying. As such, I just wanted to know what the probability was, and as such, I also changed up some of the ratios.
So your list here, why did you go with SSA Cristrons instead of level dupe?
SSA is pretty simple. I didn't want to lose to Invoked, and as we saw, it worked out really well in the finals. The
Mm-hmm.
SSA saved me from the Purgatrio, and that's basically it. I just wanted to have a better Invoke matchup because Purgatrio plus Cocytus are really annoying to deal with. Rather,
Mm-hmm.
the not Cocytus itself, but the fact that Invocation banishes your Social Veneer,
Mm-hmm.
and as such, your most important resource gets banished, and you either need to get it back somehow with another starter or just draw another soul, just do it forehead.
Mm-hmm.
And as the easiest way to just deal with such with Purgatrio's SSA, we can deal with Cocytus fairly easy since we can just search impact,
Mm-hmm.
but Cocytus is still annoying. So I wanted to put in more cards against Invoked, and the SSA package is the best for it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I had to drop Level Dupe, which is really annoying because I prefer that skill because it's more aggressive.
Okay.
As we saw in the not in the finals, in the semifinals against -1, the games were pretty long in the
Mm-hmm.
mirror simply because I wasn't able to close it out because I'm not able to be flexible with my synchro plays to go into Coral Dragon first, then into Brio. The
Mm-hmm.
levels need to be they are a lot hard to get into, but it worked out thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
SSA is great in general in the trans mirror if you get in the late game, which thankfully happened. Uh, so that's there. About the other techs, probably the most annoying part is why I have free CC into two offs. I
Mm-hmm.
was afraid of Floodgate because, especially once again, the Invoke matchup because it's fairly easy to lose, and as such, I wanted to cut on Wielder because it's an extender, but it could be the same. I could have a Trance card in that case, which I could at least attempt to discard for Soul and pop my own card, and
Mm-hmm.
Wielder doesn't do it. But it's probably the best card in the mirror and the best extender in general because it pops a card, it special summons itself, it doesn't have a restriction uh, of being. I don't have a restriction of only having five tuners. I keep playing level dupe too much, and as such, I only have
Mm-hmm.
four tuners for one controller with free C tree. I can play here Rhine, and it's pretty important to have for the current Gendex plays.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have it. As such, I only had the option for one impact. I would love to have more, but unfortunately, Rhine is too important.
Mm-hmm.
Lance is also for the Invoke matchup. You can see I was really afraid of it. Floodgate is really annoying for this deck, and also stops Alistair.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have 9 techs in this deck. So 2 wielder, 2 lands, 3 CC, and the whale package, the 1 whale, the 1 SSA.
Mm-hmm.
Playing more than 1 SSA seems kind of bad because I was expecting a lot of CCs running around, which actually wasn't the case for me. So as once SSA is ticked, it's pretty much was there for the entire game. I guess the only time I really faced CC was against Heroes in round 3, actually.
Okay.
Which thankfully I told because he blind CC didn't use it on Umi, and I was able to play around his plasma by using C-Trace chaining 1 to target Soph, chaining 2 SSA to banish that C-Tree. And I was able to special combat Soph. He wasn't able to equip my monster. He wasn't able to out the Soph because it's protected from SSA. So that's that. I faced quite different matchups, to be fair, if you want to talk about it too. I guess I'm going to finish the list first, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Back to the Lance, it's probably the best card to reactive traps. For example, Karma cards, the Ballista, because they're going negative -1 to activate it, and then you can react to it. But unfortunately, it deals with less cards compared to CC because CC can make hit Necro Valley from Blackwings, which I faced in my round 6. It can hit the Fire. No, what is his name? Carton.
Okay.
Fire Transformation Carton, which I faced in top 8 against Smithyard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mainly against those two. I guess it's also good against the weather in case I played it, which didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. Yeah, and the rest is pretty standard. I didn't like Insectron at all. I'm not a fan of that card. It does less compared to the other cards in that deck. I wanted to have 4 big removal monsters: Quarian, Black Rose, Brio, Coral, Sam D for the Wrestle Beast matchup, which I also faced. I wanted to have a very all-round match deck against pretty much every deck, which I faced. And it thankfully worked out. I think I played only against one deck 2 times. Pretty much every other deck was new, or I just faced it the second time. So that, yes, the second Smiger. People are probably wondering why I played 2 Smiger with only 1 impact target. It's pretty simple. It increases your chance of seeing Smiger in your opening hand, which you want to have. And it's also good for weird hands like Solstice Twiceburn, where you want to get a level 3 in your graveyard, but you don't want it to be Twiceburn. But you also want to still have another Smiger in deck in case you banish it with your C-Tree. Because Impact is one of the most important resources to have, because it protects you from targeting. And targeting effects are, as we all know, with Ballista, Squad, in the mirror with Coral Dragon, Brio, and so on, really important to be able to protect just.
Yeah,
So
so I
that's
see
about.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I see looking at your list, you also are not playing entry. So what was your thought process on not wanting entry in the deck either?
The problem with entry is that you can only use it in the grind game, which is not a bad thing, of course, but it's too late for me. I don't like it. I rarely search it. I rather most of the time just have that level 3 in my graveyard to go into a matrix, which Smiger is going to be, because I don't want to banish Twiceburn, because Twiceburn is probably the most important resource to have besides Dosofny itself. And you only have 2 of them. I also didn't want to increase my number of crestron cards, as already mentioned, because I wanted to have 9 techs, the 1 controller, the 1 garnet, and the rest has to be my engine cards. So I didn't want to increase it to 15 Trons cards. Neck one did. He cut down a tech card for another engine card, but I was afraid of just not being able to play for Karakuri, which I faced 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
Once in round 2 and later in Swiss, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It could also be in the top cut. I'm not too sure. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess, about the list.
So really, you just wanted a very well-rounded strategy
Yeah,
against all of the decks.
Crystron is a deck which, if I get a chance to play, the only way I lose is either I brick, I get hit by something like System Down,
Mm-hmm.
or misplay. And I really like playing such a deck where it's skill dependent,
Mm-hmm.
and Crystron is a deck which just gives me this feeling that if I lose, if I get the chance to play, I know that the only way to just win is do better, and that's it's really frustrating to lose if your opponent just draws better, but that's
Mm-hmm.
mostly not the case with Strons because the cards are just really powerful. Smiger searching twice when searching, C3 being a +1 in terms of synchro summoning, Sulfur's searching a monster being a Ghost meets Girl,
Mm-hmm.
which is a Shiranui card, but it is a graveyard resource which you can use every single turn, and you aren't restricted to your opponent having a monster or something. Those
Yeah.
cards are just individually really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I stick with this deck. Anyway, I really like playing Trunks. It's one of my favorite decks of all time. I started playing it in 2017, and it's one of the main reasons why I joined Duel Links once I saw how it wasn't very good at the time. It was tier 3 because we didn't have twice and so on, but I still wanted to play it because I
Mm-hmm.
just enjoy its mechanics.
So you were a TCG player.
Not really. I just played a little bit online, enjoyed it with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the chance to play in tournaments because I wasn't really invested in tournaments as a
Mm-hmm.
whole. I'm pretty new to the Duel Links community as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I started playing, I don't know, really invested something like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And that's also just because I wanted to prove to my teammates, excuse me, my clanmates, that Trons in the last format before Witchcrafter, Invoke Neos, and E-Saber got hit, but it actually is decent, and we could use it in Clan Bros, but they didn't believe me because Christian wasn't good, Barra was a card. And as
Mm-hmm.
such, I just started playing in tournaments and tried to get results so I could prove it is actually good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the ban list, and I was able to just escalate, just play, just I don't know, go back to back and battle phase tournament. And the battle phase you win both of them, and just enjoy my time with this deck.
Yeah, I mean, for being in the community for 2 months, I mean, you said you have two battle phase wins, you have an MCS win. What other things have you won?
Nothing more. I'm okay. I won a meta freakly. That's also a thing. But
Okay.
that's I saw some the second places. For example, another meta freakly second place,
Mm-hmm.
which was the day before the MCS. I faced Spellbook Sphere, which I lost to, and funnily enough, I faced the same guy in top 32. And because we discussed about the matchup in general,
Hmm.
I learned from my mistakes and to owed him in reverse him. Just he
Nice.
told me it was on stream, and when I was able to owe him because I we discussed the matchup, I was able to find out his weakness, which is Sam D.
Mm-hmm.
The deck is not Spellbook is not able to decay consistently through Sam D, and I was just sitting against him both games because if he banishes with Fate Sam D, it still floats into Soul.
Mm-hmm.
Even if High Priestess attempts to pop Soul, Soul is going to float as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have Impact to have another body as protection. And once Spellbooks runs out of its resources, I'm able to just go off because twice one and Soul just generates that many resources for me.
I just brio everything back to the hand and just have fun.
Yeah, pretty much.
So walking through the tournament, what was Swiss like? So obviously you went 7-0 through Swiss, but was there any point where you were like doubting yourself, or was it just pretty easy?
I mean, I was just trying to win one game at a time,
Mm-hmm.
playing first of all against Triamid, where CC was the MVP, banishing the field spell.
Mm-hmm.
Then against Karakuri, which was 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I bricked one of those games. Most of my losses were due to bricks, and one of those games was against the Karakuri guy. After that, I threw out Heroes. Heroes has just a really unfortunate matchup against Johns. After that, Ritual Beast. If you don't have Elder Hawk, you can't do anything, which is what happened. It is likelier for me to brick than for Ritual Beast to have their combo, but there are 2-card combos, so that's it. After it, I was against Luke Tyler, which was also on stream, which was also another 2-1 match. So 2 times Karakuri. After that, I faced one of my clanmates, Harry. He played Black Wings. He got 6-1 in Swiss with a deck which we as a whole didn't expect to do well, because it isn't doing well against Trons. It doesn't have close anymore, so its first on boards are really bad. But he did well, so shout out to him. And as the last game in Swiss, it was against Control Shiranui, which I lost 1 game because I bricked again. So that's that.
And then, so Swiss sounds like you packed it up pretty tightly, shipped it off with an easy 7-0. So then your top 32, you faced a lot of big names through top 32. Like you faced Mythyard, who has, topped a lot of MCSs, won a lot of stuff.
-1.
-1, who a lot of people consider as one of the best players in the world. And then in the final, who did you face in the finals again?
Saicho.
Exactly. So I mean, you're facing all of these big names. How did that feel that you're running through them? I mean, with some resistance, obviously, but like you're still winning against the best players.
I mean, it didn't really. It wasn't too much. No, that's not it. It was weird. I just wanted to enjoy the game. Try to do my best. I didn't really care too much about the name. The only name I cared was -1 because he played Trons, and I just really enjoy that matchup, the mirror match, where you need to understand your resources, how many tuners you have left, how many tuners your opponent has left, which synchros he is likely to run, and which not, and especially which text you have or not. Where -1 surprised me, he didn't play CC at all, and I was expecting to see like, when are you going to drop the SAC to banish my SSA to have the definitive advantage, which never happened.
Okay.
So that's that. I didn't. It really was weird for me. I didn't really care too much about the names. That's that, I guess.
Yeah. So what matchups did you face through top 32? Like we've talked about, Mythyard was playing Shiranui, -1 was playing the mirror.
So the first guy was Bombo, as already mentioned. He played Spellbox. After that, it was Earwing with. That's a good question. What did? Yes, he played Blue Eyes, and I was like, the matchup which I'm the most afraid about is Blue Eyes, because this deck, once it hits with Spirit Ring, you better have something to do about it, because it negates your effect on the graveyard, it tags out, and it has 3000 defense, which is annoying to deal with because your biggest monster is Quarian, and if Quarian attempts to banish it, it just tags out, so you can't really deal with it easily. You need 2 impacts most of the time, but he didn't have too many traps. His list wasn't too trap heavy, which is what I'm the most afraid about. So that's that. Mythyard was on combo shear, as already mentioned, -1 with SSA mirror, and Psycho P on the Invoke Magician Girls deck. Those were the top 32 matchups.
So obviously this format for the MCS was slightly different as it didn't have a side deck. How much of an advantage did you feel like you gained from that, not having to face any system downs?
Like, I don't think Christian would have done well if we would have a side deck format. Like, at best, probably top 8. Someone is going to get sacked at some point in the entire tournament by system down, not having the out or a way to play through it. My list would have been also different. I wouldn't have SSA probably in the main deck. trying to play 2 impacts because it's one of the ways to actually survive system down, because you can just get back Sulfafnir can float again into twice turn, and once you have those 2 in the graveyard, you can start again playing.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, since it's no side deck format, like the only thing I was really afraid was were cards like Katon and what was it again, Necro Valley, because
Yeah.
you're not, or at least not likely to have system down. There was, I'm pretty sure there was a guy who, Christian person who played the system down the main deck. Thankfully, I didn't face him. That would have been a disaster. Um, but yeah, well, this would have been different. I'm not too sure how much. I still need to figure out it myself
Mm.
for some tournaments with side. So that will be interesting.
Yeah, so given the fact that you were so dominant with this through a no side deck event, which is supposed to emulate the ladder, do you think that Crestrons are looking to get another hit or not?
It's very likely. It depends, of course, on how good it's going to do in the KC Cup, but at least
Mm-hmm.
in the ladder, people are not playing it. They rather just play something like Karakuri or Shira,
Mm-hmm.
which is so I guess that's that. It really depends how many want to play with it, because people call it big brain and it's hard to play. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Karakuri is pretty similar in power level,
Mm-hmm.
but it's easier to play, even with its hits and the restart hit and the semi limit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. I guess you still need to respect Christians, and I'm probably going to play in the KC Cup with Christians and nothing else. Try to play for 3 days. That will be fun.
So you're gonna
Trying
go
not to
very
get
hard
ahead.
in KC Cup, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that I'm going to get
Mm-hmm.
hard and try to just win it. But if in case I have some time to spare,
Mm-hmm.
and depends on how university is going to do, I'm going to attempt to just do well with Christians, the same, just like last KC Cup,
Mm-hmm.
where I ended with in top 500, if I'm not mistaken. Not too
Okay.
well, not compared to the -1 who got second with his Triumph. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try if I can.
So if Konami's listening and they decided to hit the deck, what do you think would be the most fair hit on
The most
Crestrons?
fair hit. So that's a question which people actually ask me, especially after the tournament. Some message me, is it good to invest in this deck or not? Um, you shouldn't probably. It's very likely to get hit, and really depends on the mercy of Konami, how he wants it. There are a lot of ways how we can deal it. Easiest way is just hit something really important and put it to 2, and the deck is done. Like, I don't know, twice into 2 with deck dice, near to 2 with deck dice, which is unlikely because it's a new art, but still it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
The more fair hits would be something like SSA to 2,
Right.
when you couldn't play it in the same deck, which would be pretty similar of a Blackwing hit, where they lost their close, which is unsearchable.
Mm-hmm.
SSA is searchable in this deck, so it's even more powerful. Then I guess we could put something to 3. I guess Sotofnir would be the best option, because it's pretty much the only main deck free of besides Citri. So they could
Mm-hmm.
also maybe hit Citri. Then maybe some minor hits would be something like a Matrix to 1.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be able to have this defensive play as often, and you couldn't just blind summon it first turn in case you bricked something like you only have Smiger and no starters, for example, 3 CCs, just to make it a simple example. You could normal summon it, pop a field spell, get a sweet tree, go for a Matrix, so you have a floater on board to be able to survive
Mm-hmm.
in case you are facing something. That would be also a possibility. Or just something else, Smiger. Those would be the hits which would allow this deck at least to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there isn't really a lot of options which Konami has in order to not kill it. Something like maybe even Turtle to 2 or the Rosenix to 2. This deck might just die, especially Rosenix, because the Coral Dragon play,
Mm-hmm.
discarding Rosenix, pop a card, get a token, go for Black Rose to SAMD, while also getting another draw to thin your deck, get more resources. Um, this deck is so nice.
Yeah.
It really is Konami's mercy.
So you said something to 3 or something to 1 would be the most fair, but pretty much anything to 2 and it's dead.
Yeah, basically. I don't really see another hit which goes to 2 unless it's something like Quan or Entry, which I didn't even play.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much every card which has Crestron in its name, if they put it at 2, which is not Quan or Entry, this deck is probably dead.
So do you think they could put like free Ryan and then put something like Fistfur into 2, and that would be fair if Ryan was free?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, you would still have impact at 2, which is an issue. So you would
Mm-hmm.
have to cut your one off, play one off twice turn,
Mm-hmm.
play one off impact. You can't really afford to cut either because you need those, and you would have to manage with one off twice turn. It's uh, I guess it might also just die with that. Ryan
Mm-hmm.
is not that important,
Okay.
but especially because the thing is, you even if you have multiple, the problem is that you only have one spice run and you can't just have a second one to get that additional plus.
Mm-hmm.
But monster, which is another kind of advantage. I don't know, Rosenix, get a token, Smigers, such a trap, Turtle, just being able to put more monsters on board, which this deck struggles with. Um, this switch is probably just not good. I don't think that this deck is going to survive with this kind of it as well.
Okay.
It's the deck is really on thin ice. It just needs one little push and it can go overboard really fast.
So if this deck does die, which would be very sad, what could we expect to see you playing in the future?
I guess I'm going to go back to Ritual Beast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same box as Twice on Smiger, as
Mm-hmm.
I mean Impact. Maybe something new is going to come out. I could maybe just play Triumph. It was the first deck which I got in Duel Links,
Mm-hmm.
which I actually enjoy because it's also a resource-based deck. You need to cycle your field spells. You're getting advantage out of it. You need to understand the delays, the CC delay, and so on. And maybe it's just Konami is just going to drop something new, or they are going to reprint some cards like Lavania. Then I might just play Thunder Dragons. It's also card advantage based deck. As you can hear, you and the audience, I really like resource based deck because it's the most what I would call skill
Mm-hmm.
the way to play in Yuga in general.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like something like Squire set 3 or Elsa set 3. I really want to be able to interact with my opponent and be able to just see who's the most skilled player rather than who's the most skilled at drawing the traps, the purple cards. That's that. Not anything against those people who play it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
personally just not enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah,
you want, you can play Shira, you can play your trap cards, you can try to slow me down, but I'm going to try to break right through it.
Perfect. Well, is there anything else you want to add about your MCS experience or Chris runs as a deck, anything like that?
Not really. I'm just really happy that I was able to be here and
Hmm.
that I was able to just give you and the audience my thoughts about this deck. I hope that it's going to survive, and I might just play it for 3 months more, or it depends when the NACE KC Cup and the Banless is going to be.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess I'm going to try just do well with this deck. I really, really hope.
Well, I want to extend a huge thank you to you, Daniel, for coming on and sharing your thoughts and stuff. People always love it. I want to give you a big congratulations on a huge win. Um, must feel awesome doing this. But then, if you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we know when we upload. Make sure you actually get in the Discord because you get notified of our YouTube videos there and you're able to join free tournaments every single day. Then make sure you also check out the Twitch channel, which is where we actually fund those tournaments as well as that's where they're broadcasted. So thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you later.